Airlines cannot exist without the right policies because policies drive growth. That's the submission of our guest, the chairman of the Airline Operators of Nigeria, Captain Ogi Megisin. He also shares his thoughts on the availability of Jet A1 in the country and, of course, the issue of a new national carrier being touted by the federal government.
If you look down to it, it's really interference from the government side and the policies that are governing the aviation industry that made these years of aviation in Nigeria very epileptic, I call it. If you look at it from when I came back from school to join aviation as a pilot here in '82, till date, we've had 26 ministers of aviation. In the last 2 years, we've had 6 permanent secretaries of aviation. With the inconsistency and interference, most of the ministers that we're still talking about had no background in aviation before joining aviation. Spent an average of, if you take 26 in 33 years, you're talking about a year and 2 months. None of them had aviation experience, and when they leave, they don't even come back into aviation. So it's really just a passing phase for them, and they have nothing to input. Aviation can be used to contribute meaningfully into the Nigerian economy. Also, at the same time, aviation in Nigeria can be used to create jobs for our alien youths. There's really no reason why today that Nigerian aviation is contributing 0.4% to our GDP. Nigerian aviation should have a goal, a policy in place to take it to at least 10% and 100,000 jobs for our alien youth. They are jobless children roaming our streets today. Aviation in Nigeria, why can't we use aviation? After oil, as I say, and farming, agriculture, aviation should be the next thing because we need to have airfields that can land airplanes with bad visibility. Today in Nigeria, we have 2 kilometers of weather in most of our airports. Airplanes cannot land. In the 70s, way back as in the 70s, the 80s and 70s, in Heathrow you can land 0 visibility. Today in Nigeria, you have a little bit of harmattan, you can't land. Most of our airports in Nigeria cannot land planes after 6:30 in the evening. They are daylight operations. Many little things like that. Runways are not long enough. They're not lit. You know, we need to go back to the basics and put things right. So really, the way we should go is put the infrastructure. Once you put the infrastructure in place, the foreign companies will come in, investors will come in and invest into Nigerian aviation. We don't need to invite them. They will come themselves, like the stock market. Once the policy is right, people will come, will invest because they know Nigeria is a minefield, just ready to be tapped. You're optimizing the business and the business is running, your profit margins will increase, you have more disposable income, and when you have more disposable income, you will pay your bills. Talking about fuel, GMD for NNPC with the Permanent Secretary of Aviation, we went there together, and one of the things we advised them is to revive the Warri refinery. If you revive the Warri refinery, we can now bring aviation fuel to be local. So we have constant supply, 1. 2, the price will come down because we are now producing aviation fuel in Nigeria, which had been, Warri has been producing aviation fuel for many years, just till the 90s, and they stopped. So if we start producing aviation fuel in Nigeria, it becomes cheap enough. Other people flying around Africa are going to do a tech stop in Nigeria to pick up fuel. And when they come through Nigeria to pick up fuel, of course, you will have people to handle them, clean the aircraft, fuel the aircraft. You will create additional jobs. And that will now bring people, make Nigeria like a hub, a technical hub to pick up fuel in Africa. We have the oil in Nigeria, so why can't we use it? In meeting with the GMD at the NNPC, he's looking into it. We have also spoken to the regulatory authorities who is planning on doing an audit on the facilities to find out where the depots are and who is licensing them. The GMD NNPC also brought up an idea which I think is very good. He's talking about putting dye on to differentiate the colors between aviation fuel and kerosene of today, so that once you bring it, you can physically identify which is which. People should stop looking at the government as a gravy tray where they just want to parasite and suck out of the government. People should now start to think about adding value to the government. The national carrier issue, which I've said many times, is a 1940, 1930 ideas, an idea that came up after the World War II. If you take the three big houses of aviation in the world today, America does not have a national carrier. If you go to Europe, there's no national carrier in Europe. If you look at the last national carrier in Europe was Alitalia. Alitalia still went down with a debt of about $200 million. After years of, I would call it epileptic seizures and drips by the government, it was still sold to Etihad. If you look at Brazil, which is the third powerhouse for aviation, Brazil could not run Varig. Varig ran from like 1926, and in 2007 they shut down Brazil. But the government of Brazil did not look at aviation as airline. And I keep on saying aviation and airline, two different issues. We should look at aviation in a robust sense.
Fighting low-level corruption in the aviation industry takes center stage once more. That's after the break. Do join us again.